When you're chasing a dream, the only one who can tell you that you're done is you. While there may be many moments and obstacles that make you want to stop pursuing what may seem impossible, those that succeed have the will deep inside that whispers, hold on. Our guest today is one of the greatest athletic examples of that in history. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Win, a show where we interview champions and trailblazers and ask questions to uncover and discover their championship traits for succeeding in sports, work, and life. Win is part of Grit, a pivotalmomentsmedia.com channel focused on breaking the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Our guest today needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. You may know Vince Papale as the subject of the Disney movie Invincible, starring Mark Wahlberg, which shares his story of conquering incredible odds to walk onto the Philadephia Eagles. Being a Philadelphia native, the way I know Vince is the man that made me believe that dreams can come true if you're willing to believe in yourself. His life is well documented online, on TV, and in the film, but our goal today is to dive deeper into what makes Vince, Vince, and what we can learn from him to become better for people tomorrow. Vince, it's a real honor to have you on the show. Welcome to Win.
Thank you, Lee. Thanks so much. And JB, it's really cool to be here. Great to be with a Delco guy. We all know what Delco is.
Right.
You know, there's that Philly label, but then there's that little town south of Philly in between Philadephia and Delaware.
Yeah.
And
we're
it's
loud.
called Delaware
We're a
County,
loud area.
and here we are.
People know
Yeah,
Delco.
we're okay. Yeah, right there by the airport. Yeah, where do you live? Well, I live near the airport. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. This is really cool, you know, and the mental toughness kind of a thing and getting into that is something I really believe in. And I think with anything, you know, if you can't overcome what's going on up here, you ain't going to do it. I know JB experienced that many times. So it's just a matter of will and wanting to do it, and then how you set yourself up in order to get it done. So it's pretty cool. I'm still pinching myself about the movie. You know, there's all this stuff around me, but you know, there's some great stories behind each one of these pictures behind me. You know, especially with my wife Janet. We'll find out about that in just a little bit.
Oh my God, it's great. I got to tell you, Vince, you know, my son and I have watched it. He's 30 now. We've probably watched that movie, you know, 100 times. I know every part of it. Only thing I think I should have starred as you instead of Mark Wahlberg, but I get it. I get it why you went with Wahlberg. I understand.
I told JB, Vince, that I think he looks more like you than Wahlberg. I think it would have worked out. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Mark was fantastic. I could just tell you one Mark Wahlberg story after another, but and you'll find this interesting, JB, because one time Mark grabbed me. He knew he was coming into Philly. He was going to promote a movie, and he says, "Hey, I want to have lunch and get everybody." So it's Gabby and Vinny, and they were in high school at the time. And we go to lunch, and he walks over. He says, "Hey, man, I got to tell you a story." He says, "I thought that Invincible was the toughest movie I ever did." He said, "But I just got done filming this movie," and I said, "Well, yeah, which one's that?" He said, "Lone Survivor." Yeah. He said when I had 13 Navy SEALs over top of me every place. So I thought he said I was nervous just having you on the set. He said 13 SEALs. So he was great, man. And like I say, I'm still pinching myself and the opportunities that it has availed me to do different things I never even dreamt that I could do, JB. It's happened. But then, you know, there's that other side. It's, you know, it's like a double-edged sword. And, you know, some of the things that my son and my daughter had to deal with because of it, you know, it wasn't in such a positive way. And it's pretty interesting. You know, it's human nature at its best. And I've seen both sides of it, you know, in the last 16 years now since this movie's been out. It's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, Vince, you know, it's said, you get a touch of God's favor and you move up, but as you move up, what do they say? New levels, new devils, right? So
yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Can I use that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I probably didn't come up with it, but
I don't care. Hey, half the world's plagiarizing anyway, so let's go. Yeah,
that's great. Hey, Vince, it's so funny because, you know, middle-class kid from Pittsburgh, PA, you know, joined the military to pay for college. And, you know, 26 years later, it worked out for me. And, you know, raising a family, the whole bit. And, you know, for me, you know, being that kid from Pittsburgh, there was always, you know, three people that I wanted to meet. You know, Mike Eruzione, the captain of the 1980 Olympic team. I got to do that. Chuck Norris. I got to do that, and I've always wanted to meet you, Vince. And I can't wait to meet you in person. But at least we have this video call today.
Well, we'll do that in Vegas. For
I'd love that.
Sure.
I'd love that. So that's a trifecta. But Vince, when you talk about leadership and you talk about being a great human being, and we talk about this a lot with coaches,
Mhm.
young athletes. I mean, so much of that equation of success is being both a good human being, a good leader, giving it your all. How do you put that together in a package that to help people succeed?
Well, I think we need more of that too, and it's being nice to other people and how you treat people, we really need to stop and take a big look at to what's going on around us and understanding that we're all human beings under the same umbrella, and depending on what you believe in, what you don't believe, whatever it might be, there's no excuse for not being nice to other people. I'm going to just backtrack just a second because I know you're a Pittsburgh guy. Bethel Park area.
I do.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy that I wrote this book in right here, and we just lost him right before Christmas, and he's up there smiling down. I know he's smiling right now at us, and that's Danny Franks, and he's a Bethel Park guy. And there's a great story of a guy that was told that he was too small to do whatever he wanted to do, and he wound up our All-American center at Michigan with Bo, and then captain of special teams with the Eagles, and we were roommates and teammates. So that Steel City toughness we really care for, and one of the reasons that being a Steeler fan that I know that you are, and a Penguins fan and all that, one of the reasons that the Steelers and Penguins were so successful back in those days is because of the great leadership that they had and the camaraderie and all the guys that came together. The Eagles had you had the steel curtain, we had the Mean Green Machine, whatever it was, but they all just came together and they were one. And I always say, when you're talking about being part of a team or in leadership, it's been around forever. It's like, teamwork makes the dream work, and it's understanding what your role is, and then playing your role out with passion and making sure that it's and as being in the military, what happens when one of your teammates goes down? Well, it's next man up, and you have to have that next man up mentality. With me and JB, the leadership aspect of things. I never really considered myself a leader per se. I wasn't that guy to come on to try to rally him up. The way I try to approach leadership was just by being a good leader, an example, and just outworking everybody else, and working my ass off. And if they wanted to try to keep up with me, fine. If not, we used to get these T-shirts, no pain, no gain. Who's nuts? Crazy stuff that Dick Vermeil used to use back there. That's what I adhere to. But I'm so fortunate to have had a couple of people in my life that were fantastic leaders and mentors and coaches to me, that I'm sitting here talking to you and talking to Lee and to the audience out there because of the impact that they've made on my life. And it was because of men like that I've gotten the opportunity to do what I really wanted to do, and that's to play for my beloved Philadephia Eagles. And secondly, to have, and as Lee was talking about, that impossible dream come true, and I always like to say, that Invincible, when, there it is right behind us. And, this is, I love having my props, but I can't believe that this thing's out there. And it's about the dream. It's how about you, Lee, when you were, and Lee, when you're graduating from high school, you think you're going to be a flyer. And the same thing for you, JB, whoever you were thinking about back out there, you get in the military to pay for college, and look what happens, and a great career you had. And to me, Invincible is all about showing people it's the metaphor for life. And it's not a football story. It's a love story. It's a love that the fans have for the team. It's a love that a person has for the team and all the people around him. And it's making that impossible dream possible, and the unthinkable thinkable, and the undoable doable. And when you've got that, and you have a great leader that's taking you there that you believe in, you can do just about anything if you also have it in your heart. So
yeah, Vince, we talked about this in the pre-call when we had the show.
Amazing.
That one of the things you made me believe in, look, it's funny, I grew up on Rudy too. We talked about Rudy before the show because that film came out prior to Invincible. I remember thinking, when are they going to make one about Papale? Because that's another story like this. But the key with those two stories with me is it gave me the ability to just say, why can't I pursue this? Because there's so many people that just say, there's no point, you'll never make it, why try? And my response, it's because of people like you, was just, but why not? Like, someone's got to try. Someone's got to put that up there. And I think that belief just from a human spirit level, is so important. And the thing is, I want to turn this into a question too, because not only did you do that, but you did it, it's documented pretty well that when you tried out for the Eagles, you weren't in the best place in your life. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of adversity. There were odds you were facing at home with your family, your professional life, and you molded that into something miraculous. So the question I want to ask you is kind of with everything I just said, I know there's a lot of kids, especially Philly, around the country and the world right now, in pain. They're in pain. All right. I volunteer at times to help coach football in the inner city. These kids are in pain. Most of them don't have two parents. They don't have food at home. Right. And football's their escape. School is their escape from that hell. You're someone who went through something similar. How did you turn that into belief and not despair?
Well, I guess the easiest way to say it is because I did it, and I believed in myself, and I had people that believed in me. And I'm going to backtrack just a second to when you were talking about your heroes, JB. I had an opportunity to meet those first two that you were talking about, Chuck Norris and also Michael Ruzioni. And let me tell you what, my favorite movie of all movies, other than Rocky's, Rocky's out there, and he's in the stratosphere, but Miracle,
right?
The movie Miracle, and having had the opportunity when we were doing, there it is, and then you see USA right over there. Well, that my wife happened to wear that jersey, and that's another story. But to have met a Michael Ruzioni, there's a prime example of somebody, that he wasn't even thinking of he was, he's going to go on play baseball in college, and he does a pickup game, and and he gets that opportunity, and to get a chance to meet them, but back to your question there, Lee, excuse me, the leadership side or whatever it might be, and the belief that I had, a lot of it is inwardly, I thought I had it. I had been denied an opportunity because I was trying to qualify for the Olympic trials in the decathlon. And, and I thought I've had a pretty good shot, but because of whatever, and there were actually some politics involved where I couldn't get into some meets to show what I had, just looking for the opportunity. I was sort of just pissed off at people telling me that I couldn't do something. And it simply came down to that. When you were talking about the try aspect of things, what's wrong with trying out for something and failing if you give it 150%?
Right.
And so how many people out there are saying, well, you can't do this? I tell this to kids all the time. When people say you can't do it, what are you going to do? You're going to think, oh, okay, I guess you're right. Well, you say, oh, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try.
Right.
And what we've gotten into right now, and all the things you were talking about, and the mess that some of these kids are in right now, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, they'll go to school. We're going to be cyber. We're going to do this. We're going to be virtual. It's just not normal. It just isn't normal. And right now, I don't even know. You don't even know what kind of guidance they're getting. Like, guys like you and I, we're parents, we're pretty secure in what we have with our family and our kids, that I think we could get them through all this, but there's so many that don't have that. Right. And I was lucky enough that things were breaking up in my home life, not with my personal, but, some stuff around me with my mother's mental illness, that I had some people behind me that gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. Here's a good one for you. So here I'm trying out for the Birds, and everybody, oh man, they're just busting my chops big time. You can't do it. You'll never go anywhere. So I know you're a Broomall guy in Radnor High School. The guy who used to be the football coach at Radnor was the football coach at Interboro High School, and he was also my track coach. And when I'm 30, and I'm going to try out now for the Birds, I was playing in the World Football League. That just canceled. I was in debt like you can't even possibly imagine, because I thought I was a big shot when I played pro ball. When first thing I did went out and bought a new car. That wasn't smart, but I did. And at any rate, I go to this guy, and I know that JB will like this, is that he gave me this quote, and he said, "Happy are those who dream dreams and are willing to pay the price to make their dreams come true." Now, I use that all the time when I'm out speaking. I'll be in Atlantic City next week, and that'll be one of the key things. And the thing is, are you willing to pay the price? And what is the price to be paid? It depends on where you are and what you're doing. And in our sport, whatever it might be, it's just outwork everybody else, and make, just make yourself visible. But the kids and what's going on now, they're in so much pain because there's no direction.
Right.
And the world has gotten so complicated. There's just, even when you look at somebody, you don't even know what to say for fear that you're afraid to offend somebody. I was talking with my son and his buddy that's in here, from Alabama. I call him the Arm. Brandon Silvers, great quarterback for Bama Troy. And it's if we just get back to the fundamentals and just get away from this, the social media, all the other stuff that's going on, all the influencers that are negative influencers on these kids today. If we could just get back to fundamentals and people being nice to each other, we'd be in a much better place. I mean, look what's going on right now, on the other side of the ocean, for crying out loud. But Vinny was telling me the story about these poor guys that were on the ocean, on an island that were just 40 miles offshore, and
It's a war crime right there too. You know what?
Yeah.
Putin should be charged with war crime. He's a KGB thug, Vince.
Yeah.
And you know what? And you're exactly right. When you get back to just being a great human being, and I think a lot of it, Vince, me, you, Lee, we were brought up in these ethnic towns, these small ethnic towns where, you looked out for your neighbor, like, oh, Mrs. Korowski needs her garbage taken out. You went and took out the garbage. Like, you just continued to help people. And I think that was a part of it. And, my father was from that World War II generation, and it was just, you continued to help folks. Vince, this is amazing. We could talk for 15 hours with you because I'm learning so much leadership for myself just listening to you. Vince, my question, so Lee and I both worked in professional sports, him on a coaching side, me on the executive side. And, you think about like what you accomplished, like, walking onto a team, not being drafted. I can tell you in the NHL, like, we just try to bring in another college player. And sometimes the GM would be like, no, we're not doing it. Who's this kid? The whole thing. And you came in and you said, obviously you had people that look out for you and gave you a chance. Obviously Coach Vermeil, he saw something in you, but you took that in you and you had that belief and you turned that into opportunity. Lee and I both, we work with young athletes. We never give them the statistics of, only this many people make the pro sports. I never do.
I never say that.
And you just had that desire and fire. Look, I was a 165-pound skinny kid, 5'8.5" from Pittsburgh, and I ended up in special operations. I have no idea how, and I did it because I wasn't going to get cut today. Right. That was it. That was my day, man. I made it to lunch. I made it to dinner.
Win the day.
Win the day. Exactly. So Vince, talk about that personal resilience, power, passion that you had, and the part that, you have somebody that believes in you.
Yeah. Well, the one was you said a great word, and it said that the opportunity word, you get that chance, get that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I've got some, when I speak, I talk about some great Vermeulisms. Once, nobody ever drowned in sweat. And the others, don't overload your mouth with your butt or your butt with your mouth, And that's back then we were talking, that's about talking to the press. Well, right now, it's social media. I mean, you can get in a really big jam, as with social media. I mean, look what's going on right now with Phil Mickelson. He's just getting, the poor guy. I mean, he's a Rushmore as far as I'm concerned, and they're just killing him. And social media is just tearing him apart. Thank God we didn't have that, when I was playing. I was just so blessed. I was just so blessed, JB, to have people there in my life, and especially a guy like Vermeil, Coach Vermeil. But that opportunity, I was going to say, this is his quote: "His opportunity is worth to a person exactly what your preparation enables you to make it." What are you going to put into it? You're just going to go in half-assed. You were talking about your dad. He was from that World War II generation. Well, my dad was part of that as well. He didn't go to World War II because he was blind in one eye. And how did that happen, Vince? Well, because he was cleaning out the outhouse in the pig farm that he lived in right by the Philadephia International Airport. And he got lye in his eye, and he went out to my grandfather. It was like Yosemite Sam. He came over in a boat in 1914 without papers. So you know what they called him. And my grandfather wouldn't let him wash his eye out, wash the eye out of his eye, and he went blind. And you know, when you talk about the butterfly effect, thank God, because I'm not here talking to you guys, but you know, that's just the way it was. But was he angry about it? No, he wasn't angry. He went on, and you know, we had a really nice. We did the best we could do with whatever we had. So you know, you look back and you see what's going on, and you see the things around you. And I'm so tired of people whining about, oh, you know, this and that, the things that they're using as excuses for not being prepared, rather than just forgetting all about it and go ahead and do it. I mean, I could come up with 1,000 of them when I was 28 or 30, when I was trying to making that try. But to me, they all came down to one thing, JB, and that was outworking the other person and keeping my mouth shut, you know, and trying to be humble. You know, to me, one of the greatest, I guess, adjectives that anybody could call me now is that you've never lost your humility, you know, and your love for where you came from and what your past was, you know, and I'm trying to pass that on to our kids. You know, Vinny, as Lee knows, just got a shot with USFO. I just signed with Tampa.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute.
Yeah, that, you know, it's pretty. I mean, you just met him a minute ago, you know, and he's gone out right now, and he's going to be working out with the arm. The arm, of course, is Brandon. And you know, all that opportunity is just, you got to be prepared, and preparation, and then you got to be prepared to fail as well.
Right.
And that's really, you know, as coaches and as leaders and as mentors, we have to prepare our kids for this, because the way things are structured right now in society, they have a greater chance of failing than they did back when we were doing it in our day. And because there's so many other different pressures that are coming on them, and they put a lot of the pressure on themselves through social media and with the likes, you know, and with the Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it might be. I mean, I got rid of most of it, other than just Instagram and Facebook, and I do that just to promote. You know, hey, Vinny, congratulations. You know, my family started a new business, the Papale Group, and building that up, you know. So it's rough world out there for the kids, and I'm not a part of it.
Yeah. And Vince, it's, you know, the world's been, the internet's been great because it's made the world flat, but the internet's been bad because it's made the world flat. And I think what happens is, you know, a lot of the young athletes I work with, I'm like, don't post anything. Just go do the work in the dark places and where no one's watching. You know, we talked before this call. You know, we talked about Sidney Crosby and you know the summer that he literally took like 50,000 face-offs. Practice 50,000 face-offs. Like he practiced 50,000 face-offs. Like he didn't social media that and post that. But what happened the next season? His face-off percentage went up like, 19 points.
JB, you know what? Another great one. I'm sorry to catch you up. Another great one. Just thinking about who we're talking about is Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles' career was over, and he comes back to the Eagles, becomes MVP of the Super Bowl. And I remember him talking about social media. He gave this really great speech. Vince, not to take the focus off you, but just for a quick second about how social media.
I love Nick Foles.
I love him too.
I can't wait to hear the story. Yeah.
He was talking about how, he was down in his life. He got off social media, and he said it's a human highlight reel and it's not realistic. He goes, I was failing mentally, physically, in every way. And Vince, it's a similar story to you, right? When you came up to the team, it's like, but that's not real life. Social media is not real life, and you got to get off that. It's not realistic. Not everything that you see is sunshine and rainbows. Like, you're going to go through pain. It's funny, guys, because my parents were born in the early 40s. So I kind of got that similar upbringing. They were raised by the war generation. And look, if I had to sum it up, if I had to bring it down, for me, it was just like, Lee, you get up and you keep moving. Stop complaining, get up and you keep moving. Mm-hmm. Like JB always says it, we climb. That was ingrained in me. Like, you can complain, but you're going to keep moving, Vince, I want to ask this too, because I think it also has a lot to do with identity. Philly has always been an underdog city, from our sports teams to our roadways. If anyone who's traveled 76 or 95 in Philly knows what I'm talking about.
I'll know that next week. A pothole? We don't have potholes down here in Jupiter.
No, there's plenty up here waiting for you. Don't worry. We have enough for all of Florida. But how did the fabric of Philadelphia help you build an identity, and how impactful is identity for an athlete? And I also want to talk about how it impacted Vinny, your son, who was just drafted in the Tampa Bay Bandits of the USFL, it must be a thrill for you as a father.
Oh yeah, I was sort of out of my mind. You think?
Right.
Well, you know, a
Yeah.
lot of it in that fabric, it's that toughness. And I'm
Right.
talking about JB. You know, one of my favorite videos that I have out there. It's just something that ESPN had done. We were doing the movie, and it was just talking about, and JB has a hat that had grit. You know, when you get knocked down, get yourself back up. You
Right.
know, it's all about grit. It's all about toughness. And they say in this piece, it's Steel City toughness, and that's all you need to say. Steel City toughness, 3 words, and you have a visualization of what
Totally
it's
right.
like.
Totally.
You know, and it's in a positive way. You know, and the Eagles, you know, it's the snowball to at Santa Claus. You know, it's that negative kind of a toughness kind of
Yeah,
a
which is
thing.
not
But
what happened, by the way. That story is wildly
yeah,
reported incorrectly.
yeah, wow. I
Yeah.
was there. You know, that
Yeah.
guy was 125 pounds.
Right.
He was out of his mind, and he was harassing the cheerleaders. He deserved to get a
That's
snowball
what I'm
thrown at him.
saying. Yeah. The most
Yeah,
Philly
I mean,
thing ever.
anyway,
Yeah.
that's another story, you know. But you know, this toughness aspect, and that belief that people have, and where you're going to go and what you're going to do with it, that's so internal that you might have, but also it's because you have people around you, like your parents. You know, my father was just a tough son of a bitch. You know, I mean, his nickname was Kingy because when he was going to school, he had to fight his way sometimes to get to school, you know, but he never got beyond the 8th grade, for crying out loud. But am I going to look at my dad? But there wasn't a goddamn manual that he couldn't do. There wasn't an engine that he couldn't fix or anything that was mechanical he couldn't repair. And you didn't go to Pep Boys to get your parts. What you did is you climbed over top of cars at junkyards. You know, and I've
Exactly.
been to Rosie's junkyard. I've been to
Yeah,
Jake's junkyard. I've
exactly.
been to,
Yeah.
Rocco's junkyards. And this is how I was brought up. So, and, you know, my mother dealing with what she had to deal with at the time, but she, you know, she was given the last rites a couple of times, but never ever gave up. And you know, just banged in there. She just succumbed to something that was going on up there that back in the 50s we didn't know what it
Right.
was, and
Right.
it was always kept under wraps, you know.
Right.
So
You hit it.
you
Mhm.
know, so with me, JB, yeah, you know, it's am I the toughest guy in the world? No, my parents were the toughest and what they had to deal with and how they grew up, and they never complained, and they just went and they did it. And one of the things that I'm so proud of with my son Vinny and my daughter Gabriella, they just continue to work. And Vinny, you know, he had a shot at to sign coming off the spring leg last year in the NFL, and then he just had a freak injury and it knocked him out. Did he complain? No, he rehabbed his ass off, and then he got back and worked harder than anybody else. And his reward was that 2 days ago when he got the call from the coach, you know, and saying, "Hey, man, yeah, you're going to be with the Tampa Bay Bandits, and they're keeping that dream alive." So you know, right now, the way things are structured in our society, the way kids are brought up, they're just coddled too much, you know. And I believe really that the parents have, if they're around, the parents have that responsibility to be tough and to make sure that they understand what the values are that really are held true. And that's going back to that one word again. It's called fundamentals.
Right.
Fundamentals, and it's belief in each other, belief in yourself. It's working hard, having mentors around you, and just this attitude. You know, this. Well, I'm you know, I'm not going to work because I know that the government's going to give me
Mm.
$1,000 a month. You know, that's just pervaded people's minds. And
Mhm.
you don't think young kids are seeing this happening and they're being influenced by that? We just need more role models too. We need guys like you to get out there. You know, that beautiful picture that you sent me the other day, Lee, with kids, it was just warm to my heart. And that's how Janet and I met, you know, because somebody asked us to put together fitness programs for kids,
Oh,
just like what you were
I
doing.
didn't know that.
And
Yeah.
you know, and it's just a beautiful thing. And you know, we really have a responsibility of it as adults to sort of take over and you know, get these kids raised the right way.
Yeah, and just for context for the audience, and actually, JB, this will lead right into your question. But what Vince is talking about, I do team building with my 8 under hockey team, and everybody told me they're too young for team building. Everybody, you can't do team building with 8-year-olds. They're kicking ass at it, and they're awesome at it. And I sent them a picture of 10 kids balancing on a milk crate. JB, I don't know if I said that to you too. I'll send
You
it to
did.
you.
You sent it to me. It was great.
Right. So, and they're all smiling, all having fun. But Vince, I really appreciate you saying that because they're going to be the leaders of the future. I've been saying this over and over again. We're all looking for leaders. And I agree with you. We have a lack of leaders. We have a lack of accountability. And when we look around, we say, well, where are the leaders? The leaders are those kids right now. They're being raised right now, right? It's probably not going to come from my generation or the older generation. It's going to come from them. Anyway, JB, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, Vince, when you played,
Mhm.
and then the sports today, even, Lee and I growing up, me as a young soldier in the Army, then I was a drill instructor. I mean, the way the drill instructors are now, the way I was is probably night and day
A
because,
little bit.
I was as tough as they come, I thought, but I didn't degrade folks, but I pushed people to, to be the best version of themselves. And so now someday, this approach is you can look at sports and maybe it's called kinder, gentler. Maybe the players want to know the why, but I think part of it is it's funny. I'll tell you a little story from the business side. I mentor a young businessman, and he's wonderful. He's super bright, Ivy League education. Came from an affluent family. He'll tell you that he says, "Hey, listen, I started on third." Like and he called me the other day, and I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "Yeah, my boss just chewed my ass." And I go, "And?" He goes, "I don't think I've ever been yelled at before." and I thought about that, and I was like, "Wow." And I was like, "Well, do you know what you did wrong?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to fix it." He took a good attitude to it. But I think that's part of it, right? But whether it's business or sports, like sometimes, the leaders, our leaders are required to push us a little bit,
Right.
and it's a
I
little
think
bit,
so.
and
Yeah.
but it's different now. I mean, and listen, I'm for the players on a lot of things because I worked in pro sports and I see sometimes how players were treated, right? And I'm like, whoa, they're treated as a commodity. So I'm for players, but what's your thoughts on all this? And I'm a young athlete. I'm trying to rise and grind. What should I do, Vince?
Well, that's a great. I was thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking one of the toughest guys I know, and that's Mark Wahlberg. And just so we're doing a movie, and this will be the metaphor in that way. This will be the so all the guys and the football players in the movie, they're all arena football league players. These guys are active players in the arena league, and they did the same thing. The same guys that did Mark Ellis is the guy that did the second unit football players. He did Miracle, he did the longest yard, he did replacements. And the other night, me and Vinny and Brandon, we watched the replacements and the longest yard, and we just laughed our
Classic.
ass off,
Classic.
and that it was just classic movies. But replacement has a great story. That story is about second chances and getting that opportunity. And I'm there at the end, teary eyed because I'm looking at my son and his friend and the relationships that he has with people, and it's all because of athletics and it's all because of sports. And every once in a while, it doesn't hurt to be chewed out. And I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of coach. I'll chew somebody out if they don't give it a 1,000%. I'm 1,000%er kind of a guy. But if they make a mistake, then that's the teaching moment. And that's failing forward. And as long as you're making a mistake at full speed, that's fine. If you're making a mistake because you're loafing, that ain't fine. And we got a little bit of a problem. But what I was going back to and what you were saying, I was talking about Mark Wahlberg. He was the example. We have to set the example. To you have you have an edge on a lot of people when everybody has so much people have respect for the military. When you say Army Ranger, whoa, special ops, whoa, so Mark comes in and he's an actor. He's like 40 years old when we're doing this movie, or 35, 40 years old. He's with all these kids that are 24, 25, 26. Guess who set the standard on the field at working out and outworking everybody? Mark Wahlberg. And they were watching him, and then he was saying, come on. He said, give me your best shot. He said, I'm just Mark Wahlberg, this guy. I'm Vince Papale. He said, I want you to treat me like Vince Papale. Don't treat me like Mark Wahlberg. And man, he got the crap kicked out of him. And he loved it. And it was the same thing when he did Lone Survivor and those kinds. He just loves being put in those situations. And I think that too often that we're in a soft society right now, and it's scary. And I don't know what the next generation is going to bring us. And we need more people like us, I think, to push those others to that next level. And it could be painful. There's no question about it. It's going to be physical pain and mental pain as well. And what's more painful than having a dream that you have and it's shattered because of whatever thing. And then so where do we come in? But we've all had our dreams shattered, like Lee had said earlier, what was going on in my life. I went through a couple of divorces, for crying out loud. I was broke. And then all of a sudden, and this was after I made the Eagles too. And and people come into your life, and one of them is the most important. Wore that jersey, USA, and that's my wife Janet. And we're together for almost 30 years now with two beautiful kids. So surround yourself with positive people. But I don't know if I answered the question, but
No, you did.
it's all about outworking everybody else, and just being humble and being nice. We got to be more nice to people. That's all.
Vince, one of the reasons we made this show, like, again, and the next question is going to be about mental fitness, but one of the things that I wanted to inspire is that younger generation, because I think there are leaders in that generation, but I think that there's so much, what's the right word here, outrage and complaining, that they're actually being buried. And I wanted to enable those young people that want to be leaders and they want to work hard. They want to outwork their peers. And I want them to know they can do it, because I don't hear that message too often. I hear a lot about, oh, the younger generation does this, generation does that. It's not unfounded, but there are leaders in that generation. There are people we need to inspire. And I think we're doing that. Last question I have for you, Vince. I said at the top of the show, grit, we're all about breaking that stigma surrounding mental health, mental fitness. And you shared with me that you shared a little bit in the show, you've dealt with this in your life at a major level. So I'd love for you to share that with our audience, and then also how you practice your own mental fitness kind of on a day-to-day basis.
I used to say with a Corona, but it's actually working out. But back in the day, my mom suffered from. My mom was one of 8, one of 9, and she never got beyond the 8th grade. Fantastic athlete. Played professional baseball, believe it or not, hardball. Traveled up and down the East Coast prior to the war, World War II, that is. And my father, one of 9. My grandfather came over, as I mentioned earlier, on a boat, and he was, pig farmer. He never got beyond the 8th grade, and he was a great semi-pro football player and baseball player. And that's how he met. That's how my mom and dad met, because my mom's brothers were great athletes, and they played against each other in semi-pros, and that's how they met, and they got married, and they begat me whenever they did. But my mother, there was something that was going on. There was that seed, and I think there's a seed on that side of the family of mental illness, and it's not mental weakness, mental illness, or those kinds of things that get in there, and then they start taking control of you, and whatever it might be. And I'm 12, 13, 14 years old, and I'm visiting my mother in a mental hospital just right around the corner from where you live, Haverford State Mental Hospital. People, you saw the movie One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. I experienced it, and it wasn't pretty. I'm going through puberty. I'm 14 years old, 13 years old, I'm not even 100 pounds, not even 5 feet tall. I'm living in a housing project, and everybody's calling my mom's crazy. My mom's nuts. We were lower middle class in terms of the income structure, but the family unit was still there. But this is all going on at the house. And, my mom starts taking the drugs they were giving her to control this, bringing in the ear that she had, and whatever. It could have been anxiety, could have been depression. There was never really a diagnosis for it back then. But I experienced it and went through it. And it affected me later on to the point where I actually went out and sought some assistance and some help, from the mental side of things. I figured, well, if I'm going to get a trainer, a physical trainer, or I'm going to do this, why wouldn't I want to do something that's going to be maybe the biggest controller of my mind in my life, and it's controlling the head. And, whomever I went to brought up some interesting things that maybe I want to look at life this way as opposed to that way. And because relationships were just falling apart, I just left and right, it's just, whoa, maybe it's me. And it turned out that it probably was, so then you got to go through that self-evaluation thing. But, it was because of that and all those things, I still always kept myself in shape, and was always, doing something athletically. I was head track coach at my high school, assistant football coach, working on my master's degree. And one of the reasons I was doing it in counseling, because I wanted to learn, and psychology, I wanted to learn more about the mind, and I was into Freud, Sigmund Freud. I don't know if anybody even knows who it is. Ayn Rand. It was so funny when I heard that, when was it Aaron Rodgers, what's the book, Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand. I said, oh man, I used to read that when I was 22 years old, for crying out loud. And that's the kind of mindset that I had at that particular time. I think it made me tougher. Now, I get into the situation with the Eagles and everybody's starting to really break my chops, and you had mentioned something is about, taking and moving away and peer pressure. And I always call it this peer pressure. I said, you got to get away from the bucket of crabs. And you don't know too much about, I don't know, Pittsburgh. I don't know what kind of crabs they have in the Three Rivers out there in Pittsburgh, JB. But, we've got, Jersey Shore, and the Chesapeake's not too far away. We got some pretty great crabbing. But if you go into that bucket of crabs and you try to take that top crab out, all the other crabs are trying to pull it back down in. And when I go out and I talk, I said, dude, beware of the bucket of crabs. You're that top crab. You're going to try to break away. Everybody else is going to pull you. And why are they doing that? Well, a lot of it is because they're insecure, they're resentful, and a lot of it comes down to jealousy. And my kids had to go through that when they were growing up, when the movie was coming out. It's nobody that, I was just Mr. P back in the day, and then the movie comes out and everybody finds out, I was under the rocks as a professional football player, which was fine. That was fine. But when the movie came out, it was a whole different thing. And then it started to, it started to fall on my kids, and it was not easy to see them come home and having people say the things that they said. And then same thing with Vinny. Vinny, he just makes a team, and not makes a team, but he's drafted. Don't you know that there's an Invincible poster out there with my Invincible, the next generation. I mean, it's tying it in. I said, and I just looked. I said, man, I'm so sorry. I did. It's okay, Pops. He says, I got this one. I got this one. So, you just have to be mentally strong, and don't be afraid don't be afraid when you're out there to realize that, what, maybe you are weak mentally, and there's ways that you can overcome that, and it doesn't have to be with alcohol, doesn't have to be with drugs. Just surround yourself with positive people if you don't want to get professional help, or just go and do what you feel you need to do. But, I tried it all, and I went the professional way, and it gave me a couple of things to think about. And I'm a pretty introspective person, and just took it. So when I got into training camp for Dick Vermeil, I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose, because if I didn't make it, I was going to go back and get my master's, and I probably would have just now retired from Interborough High School, but it did, again, the butterfly effect, and look what I got, sitting in the garage talking to you.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you said, Vince. It took me a long time, 10 years before I went post-military, 10 years after I retired, to finally get some help. You got to go get help, right? You can't tough it up. We're Pittsburgh, Philly kids. I was in the Rangers, worked at West Point. We could just sergeant major. You could just do it all. No. You know what? Go find some help. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're smart. You're trying to better yourself. That's amazing, Vince. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate to our audience that you just had an Army Ranger and a football hero tell you, don't be afraid to go get help for your mental stuff. I got to reiterate that to our audience, guys, because there's so many people, and JB, you kind of just echoed this. No, I'm fine. If you're not treating your brain like you're treating your body, what are you doing? You gotta take your mental stuff the same to the same level you take your physical stuff, because one can't work without the other, and that's part of breaking the stigma. And Vince, I'm so happy you said that. The other thing you talked about, that bucket of crabs, something I've been learning lately too. When people identify through misery, and we all know people like that, they identify through their misery. It's woe is me, the world's happening to me. Your success and happiness becomes a threat to their identity.
Isn't that the truth?
Right. So
isn't that the god darndest truth in the world? I'm telling you, Lee, that's a great point. Yeah. People get pissed off because you're happy.
Well, it hurts. It can hurt you as the person succeeding, because
if you let them.
Yeah. Well, sometimes these are your friends, or you think they're your friends. Yeah. And
I had it in the movie. One guy that was a knucklehead in the movie, he still is. He hasn't gotten over it.
Really?
Why?
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Wow.
I know who you're talking about too. And here's the thing is that, the sad part is the older you get, the more you dig into those identities. And the thing is that, it can be painful sometimes, because and this is the point, Vince, you were making, is that when it's your friends, you want to bring them up with you. You have this, you want to bring them. The truth is you can't always do that. And if you're not careful, and this is where you can be blind to it by accident, Vince, if you're not careful, they'll pull you back down and you don't even realize it's happening.
Man, I tell you, you're so true. You are so true. I mean, that whole thing, that whole experience is, I wanted to get all my buddies and my high school buddies, and we had 12 or 13 of them.
Right.
And the Phillies were great to me, and I took them all to a Phillies game, man. I couldn't take them to an Eagles game. Took them to a Phillies game. We had great seats, and then afterwards, I took them to one of my favorite Italian restaurants. And somebody came up and made a big deal, like that one guy in the movie, that one character in the movie. Hey, you're Vince Papale, and he did. And this guy got pissed off because I took time to be nice to this other guy,
Right.
and he thought the only reason I did it was because I was on this ego trip. And that ruined one of the, and we were season ticket holders together for the Philadephia Eagles. You know, we were like that movie. Oh, I don't get it, but that's so true what you just said, Lee.
Well, and look, what I've had to learn to do, it's not easy, is that it's not about condemning people that do that, right? If they're your friends or they're not your friends, like, people got to live, people got to do what they got to do. There's nothing wrong with someone who's settled and is doing their job and isn't following their dreams. There's nothing wrong with that person, but that can't affect you and you following your dreams, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard. But yeah, when people identify through their misery, your happiness and success is a threat to their identity, right?
Yeah.
And it's equally as much of a threat to your greatness championship mentality. And you have to make the decision. This is for the young people listening. You have to make the decision. You are who you surround yourself with. You've all heard it. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You have to make the decision.
But that's what's surrounding them, you know, and that's the thing again, you know, is it maybe they're so hooked on social media and the amount of likes that they get or whatever hits that they get, you know, and that's something that we'll never understand. For me, I could give a damn, you know, I post it. This is what it is, you know, but I don't get into anything else other than just promoting or positive. But it's a whole different ballgame, man, a different society. And you know, these kids, I think it's our responsibility some way, somehow, to just try to show them the way. But they might look at, you know, hey, you're an old fart, forget about it.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, that's what we're trying to do with this show. And I'm going to tell you what, Vince, because we're going to close up here. You were phenomenal at doing that on here today. Like, this conversation, there's so much value in it. And I can't wait to share it with the world, because that's what we're trying to do here is record these conversations, get them out there so people can see, number one, with you, there is no impossible. Impossible is nothing, right? It's a figment of your imagination. You can pursue whatever you want. Two, we talked about this, get up. If you're at a tough part in your life, get up. This man has gone through a lot of strife. He was down and out. He had a tough family situation, tough work situation, everything. He still managed to find a way forward. And you know, Vince, I get the idea. Even if you never make the Eagles, you still would have turned out great. All right. I just get that.
About all right.
Yeah. You know, and then finally is that, you know, don't be afraid to seek out the mental fitness side of your regimen, right? Make that part of your day. It's got to be part of your day. But so much value here, man. I can't thank you enough for being on here.
Appreciate it very, very much. And, you know, and just real quick, I just, in the movie, Janet, as portrayed as a Giants fan, actually, she wore this jersey and very proud of it. And I said, the three greatest letters that we have in the world is USA. And I know nobody knows that better than JB. And she represented the United States in gymnastics, you know, and then Vinny was so proud of that jersey over there when he was honored to play for the USA in high school against Canada. And I can't miss my daughter up there, Gabriella, who cheered for Syracuse, and she's doing a lot of stuff out there now. They're all together with what we call the Papale group. But you know, this has been really great. It's really been introspective. You know, it's things that I talk about in my book and my books that I've got. Just, you know, get a chance to go to Last Laugh, from Vision to Victory, and I've got some great people. Michael Ruzioni is in one of the books that I've written. And what a great story that is, you know, to hear from them. So, hey guys, you know, and we're going to hook up. We got to get you and me and Rudy on there, right?
I love that,
man. JB, when I come out to Vegas, man, you're going to be the first guy I call. You know that.
I love it.
So I'll be out there soon, doing a speech soon. It's starting to open up again, you know, and I'm getting out on the road, which is really exciting.
Well,
I like doing that.
It goes without saying to our audience, you can study this man, but this probably isn't the last you're going to see of Vince Papale on Win or any of the things that we do. Yeah. So, Vince, thanks so much for being here. JB, as always, it's a pleasure to sit on this next to this microphone with you. And that's going to do it for this edition of Win Championship Trades for Life. Remember, you can check out all the episodes. We have had a lot of great guests, including Vince, wherever podcasts can be heard, or pivotalmomentsmedia.com. Check that out for education, inspiring content, and everything. But above all, seize the day, everybody. Take care. We'll see you in the next episode of Win. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of Win Championship Trades for Life. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or that like button wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, pivotalmomentsmedia.com. And remember, Win is part of Grit, a Pivotal Moments Media channel, which is working to break the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Again, visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next episode.